and small talk. And I could see those meetings being very like, I don't see Arthur and Snape being like the serious at the table, like jumping in and like arguing or whatever. I see it as very like, you say your piece about the thing that you're doing, Snape. Okay, Remus, your turn. You say your piece about the thing that you're doing. All right, you, uh, Arthur, it's your turn. What's going on? Like, I could see them being run that way, and then Snape getting the hell out of there before they actually talk to
And
each other for any reason.
I get that. I'm just like the he apparates to the step. Arthur opens the door. They have to be cordial, is where my brain goes. So between the
Sure.
front door and getting to the dining room,
Well,
for a whole year and a half, do you see dead silence, or do you at least see Arthur, who I imagine is the only one trying to be cordial, actually, good day at work?
Like, well, I was gonna say, I think that two things happen in interactions. One, I think Arthur spends a lot of time playing, or not a lot of time, but playing referee. Anytime Snape says something bad about Harry and Molly wants to jump in and jump down Snape's throat, Arthur's a lot of times the one keeping her calm. But I also see a lot of conversations being very one-sided. And I see Arthur having fun with that. Like, he opens the door. Well, hello, Severus. How are you today? Any good students? Good to hear it. Like, he knows Snape's not going to respond. So he's just like, well, we're having hash tonight for dinner. And you know, Molly and her hash, it's one of the best. You might want to take some with you. Like, I could see Arthur just having the time of his life and Snape silently going, this motherfucker. Like, he just, why won't he ever shut up? And Arthur's like, I am having so much fun annoying the shit out of this terrible man. Like, Arthur is a killing with kindness kind of guy, I think. So I can kind of see that being the core of their interactions when they happen.
Perhaps, but I don't consider that a conversation.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like, I don't see them sitting around the table and just talking for any reason at all.
I totally agree with that.
And I think going back to the fact that every single one of Arthur's kids have been taught by Snape. And given what we know about Snape, he would have hated every single one of Arthur's kids.
Oh, God, yeah.
And so Arthur living through that via his kids, like, he's not going out of his way to be like super chummy and friendly to Snape either. He's like, fuck this guy. Like, he's awful. Now, he might take the approach that you described of being a smartass about, greeting him or whatever and being overly nice for the sake of it, but he's not like, he's certainly not defending Snape in any way. He's not like gonna go out of his way to be like, hey, Snape, you're actually welcome here. Like, no, he's gonna be like, all right, what's going on?
But great. He will save Molly from herself, is what I was thinking.
Well, let me ask this question.
Yeah, go for it.
We're at an order meeting. Obviously, when Snape talks, people are derisive. Thank you, because the word was just not happening.
It's okay.
And some of them would be mocking, some of them would be disbelieving of his reports. How do you think Arthur felt about his reports and the truths, so to speak, Snape brought to each meeting?
I think Arthur was probably in very similar to like the Remus camp of like, Dumbledore trusts this guy and I'm gonna take that for what it's worth to me, and I can assume that he's not coming here. I might be skeptical. I might be like on guard about believing everything via my own personal feelings toward the man, but I certainly don't have any reason to think that if he's here and he's doing this and Dumbledore trusts him, that he's not at least being truthful about the things that he's saying are happening in the Death Eater circle. And I surely don't have and actually, I would say that he doesn't have a viewpoint into it, but he actually does. Of all of them, Arthur might have the best window of like outside in visibility to the Death Eaters like carrying out a lot of their plans, because the same way that Snape is the spy within the Death Eater camp, Arthur is the spy within the Ministry.
Yep.
And that's where a lot of their moves, take place when they're putting officials under imperious curses and aligning themselves with certain leaders. And obviously Lucius is always there chumming it up with the minister himself. Like Arthur's the one that sees all of that and can kind of be like, all right, well, that aligns. Like such and such has been acting weird. Such and such has been getting cozy with whoever. Like he's probably the closest one to being able to corroborate anything strategic that Snape were to bring to the table that isn't directly Voldemort and Harry specific. It's the big picture stuff of the takeover of the wizarding world in in the area, more so than like Voldemort's gonna come try to murder the child at the end of the school year around exam time. Yeah, we figure that probably, but like I don't see that part. I see all the other pieces, particularly like later on, in the series when the political corruption takes effect in our story.
Yeah, I think the other thing, especially if Dumbledore's in the room, I see Arthur listening very carefully to what Snape's saying, but observing Dumbledore's reactions. He's gauging, I think he's gauging, I know that brings us a little bit to the Dumbledore-ness of them, but the thing about Dumbledore is very good at keeping his face clear and whatever, but Arthur is not stupid. He's watching and paying attention to Dumbledore, I think, all the time. And for no other reason than he understands that his trust in this man is putting his entire family's life on the line. And this man is trusting this horrible monster that is Snape. I need to know why. And I think he's looking to Dumbledore to try to figure that out far more often than we normally would think.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
All right. So, Zach, when you were given the question, pick 2 order members, and picked these 2, what was the impetus behind picking them?
One, it was the unlikely pairing. But 2, I think they have some really interesting similarities in their roles within the Order, their relationship to Dumbledore, but are completely polar opposite human beings.
Yep.
And to me, I think that's I just thought it was kind of a fascinating layer to it. Because, and as I mentioned earlier, for the fun of it, like the idea of these 2 actually having a relationship to each other is laughable. So, ergo podcast episode topic.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
So, first of all, we'll start in the fantasy realm of the 2 of them cheating on Molly.
Sorry.
I'm just saying their children would be awkward looking.
Greasy, long, slimy hair with hooked noses, freckles, and just fire engine red.
Yeah. And a girl, because why not?
If she grows up to be one of the single and available adult Harry Potter characters, I'm not choosing her.
Right. So we're going to say that the 10-year age difference stopped them from being lovers. Yeah, that's
what we're going with. It's the 10-year age difference.
Yes,
it's not the fact that can we just revisit just for a second, because I thought that this was a could be a fun topic of exercise. Just for a second, it's the 10-year age difference. It's not that Snape likely hated every single one of Arthur's children
No, no,
for
that's
their own various reasons.
no,
Like,
that's
can we go through them all for a second?
Well,
so
we
let's start
can.
with Bill. First of
Just-
all, Bill is 10 years younger. So
Mhm.
Snape was 60, Bill was 70. So by the time we were at 81, which is the year a lot of shit is happening, that's when Bill enters Hogwarts. I think Snape was probably not real jazzed about a Weasley in
Well,
his
right.
couple years of teaching.
Like, for starters, they're all Gryffindors. They're all blood traders. And they all played Quidditch, right?
You know what though? Let me jump into one thought though.
Go ahead.
Before we do into that, I don't think Weasley at that point played a part. Because in the first Wizarding War, the Weasleys were not in it, the Pruitts were.
Yeah, that was actually my next
Okay.
bullet point.
So maybe he didn't hate
He
Bill
might not have hated
or
Bill
Charlie.
immediately, but then when Bill made the Quidditch team by year 2, 3, that's when he hated Bill.
Well, I do think that the Weasleys had a reputation within the Wizarding world of being blood traders. I do
Yes,
think that
yes.
that is a family thing, and
Mhm.
not one that aligns with Snape's ideals, for starters. I do think they all played Quidditch, which Snape weirdly cares about Quidditch in these books.
Right.
Like, he's written as the character that would not give a shit about sports, but apparently really does care about Quidditch, which is
I beg to differ. We know why he cares about Quidditch.
why does he care about Quidditch?
Because James cared about Quidditch. James was a Quidditch star.
Why are you so obsessed with me? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Exactly. So the idea that in his brain he could somehow be better than James at anything, I think that made him care about Quidditch. The hatred inspired his love of Quidditch.
See, that's weird to me. It seems to me like that would be more likely a reason for him to hate Quidditch even more.
Yes,
You
but
would
then if he
think.
can get his Slytherins to beat the Gryffindors, it was a dig
It's
back.
like
at-
beating James every time.
I guess that's fair. I'll take it.
He was a little obsessive. I mean,
Yeah.
not much, but
I mean,
a
just
tad.
he may have had a sliver of obsessive personality traits. As you mentioned, Molly's brothers were in the OG Order of the Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
fighting against Snape, because at that point in
Yep.
time, he was actually on the other side, probably killing people. They may have actually dueled each other
Yep.
at some point in time. So there's that. So then you go through each of them, right? So Bill was supposedly the like super cool, talented, popular, sounding familiar at all,
Uh-huh.
everything that Snape hates in life, like a
Yep.
mini James or Sirius, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie was
I was gonna
into,
say, and a year later we get a duplicate.
right, like, but Charlie was into creatures and seemed to have a relationship with Hagrid. So probably not the recipe that's going to put you on, the biggest fan list for Snape either.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I actually wonder how much there is in the Wizarding world of like care of magical creatures and potions almost like butting heads a little bit because of how many creatures are used as ingredients in potions, and who knows how particularly humane they're sourced sometimes. So
Yeah,
I could
right.
see that being a level of friction, perhaps.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
twins are basically the
Well, don't
Marauders
forget Percy.
reincarnated. Percy, everyone hates Percy. I literally did forget to write down Percy because everyone hates Percy. So Snape would obviously be in that group.
And see, I think of all of the Weasleys,
He's
every Weasley included, Percy would be the one he would find most tolerable because he
Mhm.
was studious, he was quiet, and he wasn't a Quidditch star. And he was like, that one at least stays out of my realm of my sphere.
I actually would challenge you on one point of that, and that's the quiet part.